Hey David, Grant here. So I'm going to go through the the design and the thought process behind a lot of these items. Alright, so your existing tree, which is that tree there, is actually not correct on your plan. The center of the trunk of the tree is 10 feet off the fence, so that's why you'll see there it's 10 feet off the fence. Then I have two spruce trees here. I have all the spruce trees here again, that's showing whatever's already been installed. I have more spruce trees up here which already show again being installed. I have your swing set currently spec'd to be 11 feet off of the fence, and the thought process then would allow me to get enough room to put these plants behind it. If you don't think you're going to see it because the swing set is there, then perhaps you just stop these plants here. Maybe the last plant is there, and you don't do these other plants behind it because it might not be visible with the swing set there. So, you know, that's a preference, I guess, on your part. Alright. The plants along this back fence, you get shade in the afternoon. So all these plants can take the shade. The skip laurel, the leatherleaf viburnum can take the shade. They're all evergreen, so during the winter, you have something to see along the fence. You're not just looking at the fence itself. Okay, and then in front of that, everything's centered off the pool. So we've got 3 Bloodgood maples. You have to make the decision whether you want 3 or 2. If you do 2, you'd keep that one and that one. If you do 3, obviously you'd add this one. Alright, and then I would put a light, and again that's all centered off the pool. Alright, back here in front of the evergreen taller plants that will grow, probably maintain around 8 to 10 feet tall. In front of those would be like a 4 to 5 foot tall white hydrangea from here all the way to here, so it's labeled. Okay, and then I had groups of perennials in front of that. Okay, again, the perennials about equal distant off the pool. Okay, so for a nice clean aesthetic, rather than having too many different plants and having more of a hosh-posh, your whole property, much like most of our designs, is based on having some nice consistencies and creating a clean palette versus having too many different elements, which usually doesn't look good. Okay. Starting over here, again, a pocket of perennials in here. Hydrangea, endless summer, those blue hydrangeas, equal distant underneath the trees, going all the way down. We're actually planting those today. That blue picks up with the other blue group of hydrangeas over here. So again, when you're sitting over here, the panoramic view. Let me get you back online here.
Okay, thank you.
The panoramic view is when you're spending time here, you have the blue hydrangeas on both sides. Okay, here and also here, which was originally spec'd. Okay. Here, with the green velvet boxwoods, which only grow about 30 inches tall, so the idea is you have 30-inch tall green velvet boxwoods and then a hydrangea, which you'll probably maintain about 4 feet tall, a white hydrangea that turns a slight pink in September. The original problem was if you go too far down on with this hedge, then there's not enough space between the wall and the green velvet boxwoods to be able to fit a hydrangea. So when we were looking at it yesterday, we actually have this boxwood here finish about 3 feet beyond the pool, and that allows enough room to still be able to fit a hydrangea in there. You don't have like this little gap where you'd have to fill it with a perennial, which is not going to look good adding a different element in that area. The idea is a nice clean look of boxwood hydrangea. Okay. Above the pool, above the retaining wall here, originally they had only Hamlin grass, and the problem with only using grasses is they come on really late. You don't really start getting plumes on grasses until August. So that means you're using the pool for 2 months and not having that much interest behind the wall. So my idea was to use a 2 foot tall dwarf rose that starts blooming in May. There's really nothing that will bloom longer than a rose. You can keep on deadheading it and you'll keep on getting flowers all the way until frost. So to have this grouping of roses just above the wall, and then behind that having your grasses. So now you have the best of both worlds. Okay. Let's see here.
Yeah, I was actually holding.
So in this corner over here, you have. I was planning on 3 birch trees, white birch trees, because this is where you're getting this afternoon sun coming through this angle, and that would be nice to have like a birch grove. Again, with more evergreens, with a dwarf type of rhododendron that grows in here as a group. Okay, and then behind that, to kind of just fill this gap, some red twig dogwood, which when the leaves drop during the winter, they're bright red, and they grow about 4 to 5 feet tall. So the concept is having this layered effect, much like around your whole property. Okay. Oops, what did I do here? Okay, 1 second. I gotta fix this. Okay, back online here. Okay. So beyond that, again, groupings of salvia, which start blooming. These are all long blooming perennials. Groupings of rudbeckia, which are black-eyed Susans, over in this area over here. And then one of my favorite trees are called redbud rising sun. The leaves actually change color and they're multicolored during the season. I sent you a picture via email about this. So I have a group of 3 of those here. And then here, again, it's still undecided, but I suggested a dwarf dogwood tree to go in here. Okay. Again, another group of grasses, but these grasses grow about 4 to 4.5 feet tall in here. To pick up on the grasses that you have kind of spread throughout this backyard. Okay. Along the back of the house, they had, a couple different varieties along the house and hollies and whatnot. To keep it lower maintenance and to keep it more consistent with the boxwood hedge over here, I figured you would do American boxwoods, which you'll maintain about 4.5 feet tall along the foundation of the house. So 4 of those. And then a bunch of more drift roses, which again picks up off the back of the retaining wall. So a group of 9 drift roses in there as a pocket color. Okay, and then in front of that, I figured using Coreopsis, which is this really beautiful, long blooming perennial. It stays low to the ground, okay, which is what we want in here. So again, it creates that layered effect. Okay. For this area, we had the 2 beech trees, which stay very much columnar. I put potentilla behind here, which stays kind of at that perfect height that you need. Grows about 3 feet tall with the potentilla, which is long blooming. A lot of their sizes and shapes doesn't really make sense. We still have to put the stepping stones behind this area for you, but you won't really have room to put anything outside the potentilla. Okay. Then the dominant element I had for ground cover back here was the Liriope spicata, or you could use Liriope variegated, okay, because it stays evergreen during the winter, it blooms during August, and it has berries in September. Alright, so we had a grouping here that stretches through here, okay, and then a grouping that stretches through here, alright, and also here. I want to keep it all the same so you have this nice clean palette as you're looking back through there. Okay. And then we had this area, they had all shade plants originally. I want to use Spirea Magic Carpet, which again bloom all summer. That goes through here. More boxwood to create a hedge, because originally they had skip laurel, which again grow 8 to 10 feet tall, which proportionally is not going to look right in that area if you put something that tall. Okay. And then I had one of my favorite perennials called Ligularia Othello that kind of stretches through here where it's more shady. So again, more sun and more shade once you get to this area. Okay. Let's see here. For the front, we'll kind of move that way. this is where I thought the spacing was going to be. These are 5 feet on scale right now, so if they're 5 feet apart for those smaller horn beams, this is probably what you're going to end up doing. You might not have room to put this horn beam here because it might be too close to the house, so you might have to do away with that and just have it going this way, or perhaps using a different type of plant for these 3 to create a hedge. Perhaps even maybe boxwood makes more sense than doing horn beams there, because again, if you plant a tree right here, I think it's going to be hitting the house. All right. Then they had hydrangea limelight in here originally, but those grow 6 to 7 feet tall, and they're going to mess up the branches on your horn beam because it's going to shade it during the course of the season. So my suggestion is doing the little lime hydrangea. The little lime hydrangea in here and then here as well. Keep it consistent. Again, consistency is going to look better than having too many elements. Okay, and here and here. Alright. For the courtyard, it's pretty straightforward. Hedge of boxwood, hedge of boxwood, hedge of boxwood. We've already started installing some of those. I've got more I still have to install at your property. The knockout roses, I sent you 2 different colors. I gave you an option for red or like a white/yellow. You could do different colors on either side of the wall if you wanted to. You could do red on one side and then yellow on the other side. But again, consistency might look better there. For this ground cover in here, you have different sunlight conditions. So you've got over here it's a little more shady because it gets protected from the afternoon sun, whereas here you get more sun because it's getting more southern exposure. Liriope I thought would look good because again it ties in with what's going on in the back, and you really want to be able to tie in the whole property as far as landscaping goes, and it gives you a really clean look. Liriope is what the house over on One Winding Lane had in front of her boxwoods along her driveway, and it gives just a really clean aesthetic. Okay. The other option is you could use annuals in there. If you want to make this an annual bed, and every year you can switch out the colors and do seasonal annuals. So early spring, and then another set of annuals after Mother's Day. It just gets costly to do that, having to replace it every year. Okay. So over on this right side, as we work our way down, again, evergreens with hollies here, and then I had 3 taller hollies to fill this gap, which was 17 feet from the wall to the fence. A consistency of having Japanese forest grass roughly equally spaced apart, groupings of them, 1, 2, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groupings of Japanese forest grass. And this is kind of a partial sun, partial shade environment, especially when you get over here. Over here you're getting more sun, hence we have like Miss Kim lilac, which will do well in the sun. Salvia, which again picks up from the back. You've got some of those in the back. Sedum Autumn Joy, which blooms in the fall. Okay, gives you some more fall color. More variegated iris, which I had some here, as well as some over here. That's a really beautiful plant. It can take the water, because the other thing I'm worried about here is the water's all draining downhill. So these plants take water a little bit more better than other plants would as far as perennials go. 5 oak leaf hydrangeas, which I sent you a picture of, that bloom all summer and also have excellent fall red color. Okay. These are your transplanted spruce trees to block the house that's back over here. So the spruce trees would go down in this area. And again, this is really, really shady right here in this area. So we have shade-loving plants with astilbe. I would do 2 different types of astilbe. They have different colors to kind of give you a mix of astilbe and hosta in this area. Andromeda, which is a shade-loving evergreen. Okay, and then clethra, which has this really nice white bloom, which was there originally planned for. I think that's fine to leave that there. I don't think we're relocating the fence. I think the fence is where it is fine. So that's something else to point out. And then again, because of the dense shade, we have more hosta in here. More ligularia, which again is one of my favorite perennials, which I also had over in this area. A stewardia off the corner. This stewardia most likely is going to be pulled a little bit further off the corner of the house, not so close to the house, so maybe it might be over here. 4 boxwood American. Don't use the shamrock holly, because those are garbage. Those are garbage plants. They're like a builder's plant. It's really, they get very leggy, and you have no growth in the bottom half of the plant in 2 years. So, also the fact this is relatively shady, and the box will do pretty well there. So I had 4 of those in here. So that's it. I mean, again, most of the perennials are long blooming perennials, different colors, textures, consistencies is very important. And I think this would look really, really good. The only other thing to think about is if you don't want to do trees here, perhaps you do like a holly hedge as an option, or an evergreen holly hedge, or actually I probably wouldn't do that either. A tree hydrangea hedge, another option. Something that, again, that stays compact, that gives you some nice interest. Boxwood hedge, another idea. I like something, if it was me, I would like something that has a tree trunk to it, to be honest with you, because then you can see underneath it to the blue hydrangeas behind it. I think the tree hydrangea idea would work. Obviously the Satami dogwood, which is what I listed on there, would work. And we could always look at a couple other trees that could work in there as well. And again, the other decision is these 2 here, I think should definitely be where they are. This one is optional, whether you think you want one in the center of the yard lined up with the center of the pool, because these are equal distant off the pool right now. That's it. Talk to you soon.